More and more Russians question the purpose of this war. Not a single major goal has been accomplished, yet the propaganda always tries to ensure the population that everything is under control and Russia is winning. Because of this, fewer and fewer Russians trust TV, especially the ones of younger generation. And some people even feel that they are just one bad decision of Putin away from overthrowing the government. How long until Russians start finally realizing that propaganda is fake? Does this mean that people will start protesting soon? And what is this potential decision of Putin that he can take so that this will make people say, okay, that's enough, and make them go to the streets? And these are the questions that we'll be talking about in my today's video. What's up, investors and people of Reddit, it's the Russian Dude, and this is your daily update on Russian-Ukrainian war as of Wednesday, May 11th. You can see the main events of the day to my right, along with the timestamps. Every single day, more and more Russians, especially those of younger generations, start to question the actions of Russian government. In the beginning, they were told that this war in Ukraine will be very quick and easy. They were told that the main reason of this war was to not let NATO expand, and now we have two more countries joining the alliance. Then they were told that the main goal will be now to destroy Ukrainian nationalism, and now they can see this incredible union among Ukrainian people. They see that international brands are leaving Russian markets, but at the same time all Western countries, they support Ukraine. And because of this, finally more and more people start questioning propaganda. For example, on March 17th, approximately 33% of younger Russians trusted everything that was coming from TV. And on April 27th, 1 month later, this number decreased to only 23%. There were even many independent surveys where the reporters were approaching young Russian men and asking them the questions about the war. And among these questions was the question, what would you do if Putin announces mass mobilization? Vast majority of young Russian men replied that this is a bad decision by Putin and will have a negative impact on them. They also added that they will do everything possible not to go to the army. And in addition to that, many of these Russian men think that in case this mass mobilization is really announced, this will be the turning point for Putin, because they think that this is the time when people of Russia will start going on the streets and protesting. The main reason for this is because they see that this special military operation is taking way too long and basically nothing significant was achieved. And it doesn't take to be a rocket scientist to understand that those people who actually go to Ukraine are either injured or dead. People also understand that they are not fighting on their own territory, they are not protecting anyone, they just go to another country and fulfill the orders of the generals. And this especially applies to these so-called couch experts who just watch TV or other propagandistic TV shows and who hate Ukrainians basically without a reason. These are the people who shout the loudest, just give me a gun and I'll kill every single Ukrainian. But in most cases, in case there is a real opportunity for them to go to the army, they'll be the ones who will be hiding the most. It is just so easy to emotionally support your government with your brainwashed mindset, but whenever they ask you to shed your own blood, your position suddenly changes. And the government of Russia probably understands this already as well. Specifically, the press secretary of Russia, Dmitry Peskov, says that Putin will most likely not call for the martial law in the nearest future. All this is potentially one of the biggest reasons why Vladimir Putin did not make any significant statements, including mass mobilization, during his victory parade. And by the way, if you like this style of daily news reporting, feel free to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Also, please make sure to check the link in the description if you want to receive additional content and support Ukraine with us. Thank you so much, and let's continue. Welcome to another episode of ridiculous Russian propaganda, and today we have two cases because I just simply couldn't select which one is better. So in this video we can see American person making fun of gas prices and basically saying that okay, from now on we'll need to use horses. Which, I mean, if you're a person with the common sense and the very basic sense of humor, you'll immediately realize that this is just a parody. But not if you are Russian propaganda. Some Russian TV channels were showing this video and they were saying, look at these stupid Americans. They made it so bad for Russia, but look at them, now they cannot even drive their cars. The idea of the message is basically, who is laughing now? I wouldn't be even surprised if they would invite some kind of political experts to discuss this probably TikTok video. But another case of ridiculous Russian propaganda is about something what we already heard about, is this biological chemical laboratories on the territory of Ukraine. They said that the Ministry of Defense of Russia had undeniable proof that American biopharmaceutical companies, such as for example Pfizer and Moderna, were doing experiments on Ukrainian civilians. The propaganda said that they found these syringes and containers with the traces of typhoid, Siberian plague, cholera, gangrene, and all this kind of dangerous stuff. And then they found this half-destroyed paperwork which was documenting that they were using this against Ukrainian men, women, and even kids. But then they went ahead and said that even the highest politicians of America were also involved in this, which includes Barack Obama, Joe Biden of course, and Hillary Clinton. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they found some videos where they were showing that Barack Obama was personally injecting Ukrainian kids with Siberian plague. And the reason why these highest American politicians were allegedly allowing these biopharmaceutical American companies to perform experiments, it is because these companies were paying for the political campaigns of these people. So basically the conclusion of this segment of Russian propaganda is that these politicians rose to the top thanks to blood money from Ukraine. In this picture you can see the budget of a concert marathon with famous Russian artists who are traveling across Russia and giving patriotic concerts. In less than a month, approximately $1.3 million was spent on these concerts. And for example, the top performer has received approximately $155,000. And just for comparison reasons, widows of those soldiers who died in Ukraine received approximately $75 to $150 for their killed husbands. I would assume that increasing the sense of patriotism using patriotic songs is way more important than human life in Russia. Today, the new leadership of Kherson region, which was obviously appointed there by Russia, said that they want to ask Putin whether they can join Russia. And just as a reminder, the way Russia annexes the territories of Ukraine always goes through the same 3 steps. First is to send the infiltrators from Russia into targeted regions. Then these regions must proclaim independence from Ukraine. And the last step is to show their intent to join Russia. Through the same 3 steps, Crimea joined Russia back in 2014. And now Donbass region is at the very last step of this process. And until today, Kherson region was in the second step of this process, which is proclaiming independence from Ukraine. They even started replacing these street signs from Ukrainian to Russian ones. And in addition to that, they started accepting Russian rubles in some places. In response to that intent, the press secretary of Russia, Dmitry Peskov, said that the people of Kherson region must decide on their own whether they want to become Russians or not. He said that this is an extremely difficult political and legal decision. That is why everything should be in accordance with the law, just like with Crimea back in 2014. And yes, that's exactly what he said. But Ukraine did not let this situation go unnoticed. Here, for example, we have Mikhailo Podolyak, who is the representative of Ukrainian negotiations team, who said that the only agreement this alleged Ukrainian government in Kherson region will sign in the future will be the petition for pardon. What he meant here is that whenever Ukrainians truly liberate this region, this alleged government will be prosecuted, and that the only way for them not to spend the rest of their lives in prison is for them to beg for forgiveness. Today, Vladimir Putin congratulated the people of Donetsk region with 8 years of independence. Back in 2014, this region pronounced its independence from Ukraine, which is, by the way, basically not recognized by anyone except Russia. And in his speech, Vladimir Putin mentioned the centuries of traditions and friendships between the people of Donetsk and Russia. Yes, exactly right. Centuries of friendships between 2 countries where one of them is only 8 years old. Today, the Congress of the United States of America approved a support package for Ukraine worth approximately $40 billion. And this is in addition to the Land-Lease Act, which was signed by President Biden on May 9th. This new $40 billion package includes military, economic, and humanitarian support. Approximately $11 billion will be spent on military vehicles and weapons. $6 billion will be spent to improve the security of Ukraine. $9 billion will be spent on replenishing ammunition, such as for example Stinger and Javelin missiles. $900 million will be spent on humanitarian support, which includes psychologists and English teachers. seizures. And finally, $54 million will be spent on medical support. Vladimir Zelensky personally thanked the Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, and now whatever is left is just for Joe Biden to sign this document. The United States Senate has registered a resolution which allows them to recognize Russia as a country sponsoring terrorism. This happened just one day after the Parliament of Lithuania officially acknowledged Russia as terrorist country. And at this very moment, US considers only 4 countries which are sponsoring terrorism. And these countries are Cuba, Syria, Iran and North Korea, which basically means that the 5th country they want to include here will be Russia. The United Kingdom has signed a security agreement with Finland and Sweden, which is in plain English means that these 2 countries, Finland and Sweden, are just one step closer towards joining NATO, which by the way was one of the main goals of Russia since the beginning of this special military operation, to stop the expansion of NATO. The signed security agreement means that these 3 countries will have a better mutual cooperation in the question of security and defense, which also includes the exchange of intelligence data and mutual military trainings. The Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, says that at this very moment, unfortunately, the peace between Russia and Ukraine is impossible. He made this statement after personally speaking with Vladimir Putin and then visiting Ukraine. And then he also said that even though the peaceful resolution unfortunately is not in the nearest future, at least for now, countries must focus on providing humanitarian support and evacuating civilians. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Russia, Sergei Lavrov, said that even though Western countries are turning away from Russia, Russia will not give up and will only rely on itself from now on. In addition to that, Russia will continue its economic and diplomatic relations with those countries who support Russia, which according to him, once again, is the majority of these countries around the world. If you didn't get this at the first time, what he meant basically is that most countries around the world support Russia. At this very moment, Ukraine is considering to adopt the bill which allows them to use seized Russian assets found in the territory of Ukraine in post-war reconstruction of the country, which to be honest makes sense because if you destroy something, you pay for this. And yes, just as a reminder, yesterday the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Russia, Sergei Lavrov, was very unhappy with similar initiative which was coming from Europe. He said that if countries confiscate Russian assets, this is a natural life robbery. Russian equivalent of YouTube, which is called Rutube, has regained its access after it's been down since May 9th after a hacker attack. Just a quick reminder, on May 9th, hacker got access to the original code of the website, which basically allowed him to delete everything, including backup copies. This was a very significant problem for the management of the company, and they spent 2 days restoring access to the website. And as for now, the website is fully operational. And the management also went to the police to try and find this hacker and punish him. Thank you so much for your attention, stay safe, check the link in the description, and see you tomorrow.